Chapter 36, multinational companies and foreign direct investments. When we talk about a multinational company is a corporation that is registered and operates in more than one country. That makes it a multinational company. I think the point is clear there. A corporation that is registered and operates in more than one country. It's a multinational company. So let's scroll down and see. What are multinational companies? One of the reasons why globalization has been successful in recent years is because a growing number of firms called MNCs have developed significant business interests overseas. These firms are very large and powerful. They sell goods and services into global markets and have production plants and other operating facilities all over the world. MNCs play a large and growing role in the world economy. They contribute about 10% to world GDP and about 2/3 to global exports. Examples include McDonald's, Toyota, British Petroleum, Microsoft, and Coca-Cola. Some of the key features of MNCs include, so before I go into the features of MNCs, so basically an MNC, like I told you, is a company that has its operation in more than a country. So what makes you to know that it is an MNC, or what are the features or characteristics of MNCs? One, huge assets like land, building, plants, machinery, and money, for example, and revenue. So MNCs are extremely well resourced and can often afford to take on large-scale contracts and projects that many other firms could not cope with. So one of the characteristics of an MNC is that it has the ability to take on large contracts. It operates on a larger scale. Its operation is always on a large scale. That makes it an MNC. Two, highly qualified and experienced professional executives and managers. MNCs can afford to hire the very best people from anywhere in the world. They employ high-skilled managers, directors, anyone they want. They have the ability to attract the most skilled managers and directors in the world. That makes them an MNC. The third one, powerful advertising and marketing capability. They can invest huge amounts of money in impressive advertising campaigns to outcompete small rivals. They spend huge amounts of money on advertisements. Look at Coca-Cola, Pepsi. These are multinational. They spend huge amounts of money on adverts. And why do they do this? To take, to have a competitive edge over the small rivals they have around. The fourth one, highly advanced and up-to-date technology. So for MNCs, they have the financial capability to invest in capital equipment, technology, the latest one. They have the financial capability to do that. So that makes them more efficient and it reduces their cost of production. The next one, highly influential both economically and politically. They can be very powerful and can influence government decision making. So multinationals, another characteristic that they possess is that they can influence government decisions. They can influence government of a country because they are huge, they have power. So economically, they're good for a country. So as a result of they have economical power, which can also lead to having political power. Do you understand? Because any country would want them, and you might have to accept their terms and conditions for them to set up in your country. That's the point they are making there. Is it clear? Very efficient since they can exploit a huge economies of scale because MNCs are so large. So they are very efficient based on the fact that they can exploit economies of scale. And exploiting economies of scale means they can have purchase economies of scale, managerial economies of scale, technological economies of scale, diversification, and all these things. So, and that allows their cost of production to fall. As a result, they can only sell at a very reduced price to attract more customers. Any question about MNCs? So that's MNCs and the features of MNCs. So we'll go on to FDIs. So we go to foreign direct investment. What do we mean by foreign direct investment? It means a company is having investment in other countries, that's in overseas. That's foreign direct investment. So let's say for FDI or inward investment occurs when the company makes an investment in a foreign country. This may involve the construction of a factory, distribution center, or store, or development of a mine or tea plantation, for example. Another part of FDI is the purchase of shares in a foreign business. 10% or more. Most FDI comes from MNC. So a common approach to FDI is for a foreign company to work with a company in the host nation to develop a business venture. For example, GM, the giant US car, MNC, giant US car. MNC has a total of 11 joint ventures in China. In 2016, GM and its joint venture sold over this. So the point here is that it is foreign direct investment when you maybe you have a joint venture or you link up with other country or you link up with some countries to buy maybe shares from them to invest in their company. So that is foreign direct investment. So most of the time, the multinationals develop through these things. Do you get the point there? So we'll go down. Reasons for the emergence of MSCs and FDI. What are the reasons why we have multinational companies or foreign direct investment? Number one, economies of scale. In some industry, firms that expect economies of scale can reduce costs. MSCs will be in a better position to expect economies of scale because they are so large. So I'm just going to summarize it. One of the reasons why we have MSCs is that we said they operate on one of their features is to operate that they operate on a large scale. And operating on a large scale allows you to exploit economies of scale. So some businesses want to exploit these economies of scale. As a result, they become multinationals. Because when they become multinationals, maybe they set up a factory in their source where they get their raw materials. Now, extending their factory over there means that their cost of raw material will fall because they have it closer to them. So that's one of the purchasing economies of scale. So basically, for economies of scale, operating on a larger scale allows your cost of production to fall, which is one of the reasons why businesses might want to extend their operations abroad. Two, access to natural resources or cheap material. Many large companies are happy to invest overseas because they need to buy huge quantities of raw materials. So raw materials are needed. And if you don't have them, you have to import them. So importing them is expensive. So one of the ways in which you can get closer to raw materials or resources is to set up factory that can convert those raw materials into finished goods there. So when you're able to do that, what does that imply? It means you're going to have cheap raw materials or access to more raw materials, which is an advantage to you as a multinational. But if you are a domestic business, you won't be able to do that. So you continue to buy or to import raw materials. But if you are a multinational, you become a multinational because you can extend your operations into foreign countries or overseas. Clear? That's another reason why businesses or wants to extend their businesses into their foreign markets. The third one, lower transportation and communication costs. Developments in transport and communications have helped to drive the growth in multinationals, and not only them, globalization. So multinational comes in, is a birth of globalization. Globalization brings about multinational. And one of the reasons why there's globalization is that there's effective transportation and cheap communication system now. So that means there's development in transportation and communication, which makes it easier for people to interact with each other, for businesses to export or import products or raw materials. So as a result of that, they are encouraged to set up or to go into other countries. In as much as we know that the cost of exporting products out is not high, or the cost of importing is not high, or because there's globalization, people can move from one country to another. So it means multinationals have that they have that confidence that wherever they set up in, globalization will help them to source for all the resources needed. You get it? That's another reason why there's global multinationals. The fourth one, access to customers in different regions. When you are a multinational company, it means your customer base will extend. So you're going to have both domestic and international customers. Yeah. If you're a domestic business, you only have access to your domestic customers. But for you to have access to global markets, when you are selling in a global market, it means you can extend, you can have a large customer base, both locally and internationally. Yeah. I think it's clear. So any question about reasons why multinationals want to set up? No. So we go to advantages of MSCs and FDI. We'll go to advantages of MSCs/FDI. Many countries are keen for foreign MSCs to develop business interests in their countries. Indeed, many governments likely seek FDI by one, offering tax breaks, subsidies, grants, and low interest zones. I'm going to list them then explain. Listing restrictions and relaxing regulations to make it easier for foreign firms. Investing in their own infrastructure, investing in education so that people can get jobs with foreign companies. Governments are prepared to do this because advantages of FDI are generally so attractive. So we're going to the advantages of FDIs and MMCs, but before then, we want to talk about reasons why countries find it interesting to encourage FDIs or MSCs to set up in their country. How do they go about it? One, they try to offer them break tax, like they give them some breaks in taxes, subsidy, loans or grants. These are financial rewards or financial benefits that government could use to attract multinationals. Two, they talk about lifting restrictions, that's trade restriction, maybe deregulation. Government can come up with some, government can relax some laws so that it can attract multinationals to come in. The next one, another thing government could do is to invest in their own infrastructure, road, electricity, water supply. These are strategic things. If government does that, government is doing it to also attract foreign investments. So if you see the government of Libya working on the roads, the electricity, the water supply, communication system, they are doing all these things to attract foreign investors or foreign businesses to settle. And last one, invest in education. When government invests in education, it means that the working population becomes employable. And multinationals, they want to come to a country where they can find the workforce. So if your country is not, if the percentage of the population, if you have large proportion or large percentage of the population educated, it means they are employable. Multinationals can be attracted as a result of that. So these are ways in which government would want to encourage multinationals to come in. So why do they want to do this? These are the advantages of multinationals. Number one, job creation. When MNC is set up, I'm just going to explain it. When MNC is set up in the country, they are going to create jobs because as soon as it's set up, they have to employ domestic citizens, or they have to employ citizens. As a result of that, job opportunity will arise. So MNC setting up will solve one of the it will help government with one of its macroeconomic objectives. So that's one of the reasons why government would want to encourage multinationals. Clear. The second one, investment in infrastructure. Countries with poor infrastructure often struggle to attract FDI. If a country has inadequate road network, port, railway, and the communication, airports, industrial parks, and other facilities, it is more difficult to do business in that country. Consequently, owing to the attractiveness of MSCs, governments are more likely to invest in infrastructure in order to attract the attention of investors. If this investment is forthcoming, everyone will benefit. So one of the advantages of multinationals is that it makes the country to become developed because the country wants to attract multinationals, right? To attract them, you need to work on your communication, work on your electricity, work on your road, work on your airport, your seaport, and the rest. So by doing this, you are developing your country also, which is a win-win situation for everybody. Clear. The third one, developing skills. MSCs provide training and work experience for workers when they locate operations in foreign countries. Also, governments in less developed countries often spend more on education to help attract MSCs. So, developing skills. Education and training will develop your skill, will improve your skills, right? Yeah. So, when MSCs set up in a country, they have to train the domestic workers because they don't understand what their operations is like. So, training them allows them to be developed in terms of education and skill, in terms of skills, which is good for the country itself. And also the government of the country, they also invest in education to attract multinationals so that their citizens are employable. Clear. Developing capital. The arrival of multinationals. The arrival of multinationals will help to boost the stock of capital in those countries. One reason is because when a business sets up a new facility, such as a factory, it is likely to install up-to-date technology. For example, BMW, the giant German company producer, is currently building a new plant in Mexico. So at the end of it all, when multinationals set up in a country, they help to develop the capital goods in that country, like factories, companies, offices, technology. They come with the latest technology. They come with the most advanced technology because they are multinationals. They have access to these things. So as soon as they are coming into a country, they come with all these things, which is a good thing for the country. Clear? Contributing to taxes. When MSC is set up, they have to pay taxes to the host nation, the country that they are setting up in. So paying these taxes increases revenue for government. As high as that revenue for government, also the workers they employ would also pay income taxes. So at the end of it all, both corporation taxes, income taxes will increase for the government. And government can use this to develop the country again, maybe spend on education or healthcare. Is it clear? Now, what are the problems regarding multinationals? The first one, tax avoidance, particularly by powerful MNCs, has attracted the attention of the world's media in recent years. Also, political leaders, particularly in the US and the EU, have accused MNCs such as Apple and Google of failing to pay their fair share. However, the MNCs have frequently responded to this accusation by saying that they pay their taxes and have done nothing wrong. Well, multinationals, you know what they try to do? Sometimes how they avoid taxes is not that they're not going to pay tax.
Yeah.
They might set up their head office in countries with less tax.
Mm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the tax they pay to any country that they are in is just little tax.
Mm.
Do you understand? So they are being accused here. Multinationals are being accused here according to the notes here. But what can we? They are so powerful, and as a result, sometimes the government of that nation, sweep things under the carpet for them, which is bad, because it reduces the revenue of the government. 2, environmental damage. When they set up factories, which represents operation, especially the manufacturing ones, when they set up factories, the environment, they emit carbon.
Yeah.
They emit carbon, they use resources, they use power. All these things cause damage to the environment.
Yeah.
Oil exploration, all these things are damaging the environment. So that's another problem about multinational settlement. The third one, moving profits abroad. They repatriate profits. They make it here. Though, whatever they produce here counts for the output of this country. But the profit they make is being repatriated back to their host country.
Yeah.
They don't keep it here. Is it clear? So go to the questions. The first one, which of the following is the benefit of FDI in the country?
A higher employment levels because of job.
Good.
Because of job.
Yeah. Low interest rates is not a benefit. It could attract. Lower exchange rate is not a benefit. It could attract. Lower economic growth would discourage. But the answer is C. Is it clear? Question 2. Which of the following is an example of FDI?
I'm not really sure about this one.
What answer are you trying to choose? The take is, let's say you choose A now. It's not A, and I'll tell you why it is not A. It said the takeover of a parts supplier in Japan by Nissan. Nissan is in Japan, so takeover there is local. It's takeover. It's takeover. It's integration. So it's not foreign investment. The construction of the factory in Shanghai by a US multinational. That's the answer anyway. The construction of a factory in Shanghai by a US multinational company. So a US multinational company is constructing a factory in Shanghai. So that is foreign direct investment. So the answer is B. So let's look at C. A large clothes manufacturer in Bangladesh selling clothes to a German retailer. A retailer, anybody could buy. It's not about the customer. Anybody could be a customer. A 200 million investment by a government in the nation's infrastructure. That's government investment. It's public, not government. We call it public expenditure or public finance. So it is not multinationals. Is it clear? Any question about that? So that ends multinational companies, right? And there's FDI in Nigeria, the case study of Nigeria. So that ends the chapter there.